trading place for centuries, Town Quay is at the heart of Southampton's maritime heritage. A little further upriver can be seen the town's old pier, once the departure point for ferries to the Isle of Wight, and also home to the flying boats and Southampton's floating dock. Trade continues today, and numerous types of vessel can be seen sailing these waters. Quietly moving upriver is Split 2, a hopper barge. These can often be seen hugging the coastline and working alongside port dredges, helping to keep our rivers and sea lanes clear for shipping. Southampton has always been a magnet for the maritime enthusiast and onlooker. Town Quay is the ideal vantage point from which to view both passenger and freight ships entering and leaving the port. One of the largest passenger ships to be seen at the port is this one, Royal Caribbean International's Navigator of the Seas. And you can certainly see that she is a big and impressive ship, weighing in at some 138,279 gross registered tonnes, and with a passenger capacity of about 3,807. Returning here from the Western Mediterranean, Queen Mary II will turn and berth at the Queen Elizabeth II terminal located on the eastern docks. Isn't she a magnificent sight? The Mediterranean is a popular holiday destination, and so it is that the Navigator of the Seas also sails to that location. In the foreground can be seen the high masts of yachts and smaller watercraft attending the Southampton Boat Show, which is held annually at Mayflower Park. It's a great opportunity for the general public to experience the joy of both sail and engine-powered boats. In the halcyon days of cruising, shipping companies such as the Union Castle Line would sail regularly from Southampton to faraway destinations such as Cape Town in South Africa, and in those days it was not uncommon to see lines of ships berthed here in the western docks area of the port. Southampton is one of the UK's busiest and most important ports, and is widely recognised as the cruise ship capital of England, with thousands of passengers departing annually on voyages around the world. It's no wonder it attracts so many onlookers. The sheer size of these magnificent ships can leave you breathless. An excited crowd of well-wishers and relatives look on as Navigator of the Seas departs for the Western Mediterranean. Royal Caribbean International currently have 21 vessels in their fleet. The company are renowned for their large capacity ships and have now ordered a super-sized ship. Named Project Genesis, this massive ship will accommodate up to 5,400 passengers and will weigh in at 220,000 tonnes. Delivery is expected in 2009. Following close behind is Princess Cruises' Sea Princess. A delightful and elegant-looking design, she was built in 1998 and can accommodate some 2,342 passengers in style and timeless elegance. Again, she is heading to the Western Mediterranean. This company also is expecting a new ship for 2009, but it is as yet unnamed. Southampton's double tides and prolonged periods of very high water mean that ships can arrive and depart the port at any given time during the day or night. Cruise ships usually depart the port at 5 p.m, so it can get quite busy with more than one ship underway at this time. It is traditional for cruise ships to sound their whistles when leaving port. Note the member of the ship's crew waving a large hand from the bow's observation platform. The holiday has now begun, and dreams of distant ports of call await you. Perhaps the best known of all passenger ships in modern times are those of Cunard. Even the word conjures up tales of history and legend of the great ocean liners. Launched by Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in 1967, the QE2 has become the nation's last great ocean liner, and a sense of pride and nostalgia still surrounds this magnificent vessel. Here she is being prepared for what she was built for, the transatlantic route to America. Her busy shoreside schedule will see her replenished with food for her 1,850 passengers and sufficient fuel to make the crossing. Here at the Queen Elizabeth II terminal, passengers eagerly anticipate their call to board the ship, as they doubtless did on the 2nd of May 1969, when the ship left Southampton for her maiden voyage to New York. Looking at her graceful lines and profile, one can imagine her speed, and this is what makes her look so very different from other liners. In 1982, the Queen Elizabeth II was requisitioned by the government for war service and was quickly converted here at Southampton to convey troops to the Falkland Islands, then under threat from Argentinian troops. Whilst taking the 3,000 members of the 5th Infantry Brigade to South Georgia, she was truly on Her Majesty's service and provided an important contribution to our success in removing Argentinian forces from the islands. With all the passengers now aboard, stevedores prepare to release the bow and stern ropes to cast off. Although the Queen Elizabeth II has bow thrusters, she still needs a little help leaving the berth, and the tugboats Sir Bevis and Lyndhurst are assisting her departure today. Blast from the ship's whistle to indicate to others, "I am leaving port," and she soon begins to pick up speed. Interestingly, although she may be 40 years old, with a passenger capacity of 1,850 and a weight of some 70,327 gross tons, she is still the fastest passenger ship afloat, with a top speed of around 33 knots. One of the many momentous days in the port of Southampton's history, the 16th of September 2007 was to be the starting point of the Queen Elizabeth II's lap of honour around Britain, this in recognition of the 40 years since the launch of the ship in 1967. Switzer tugboats based in Southampton would play a large part in those celebrations, with the customary display of water cannons. With the bow and stern ropes now securely in place, the tugboat skippers will be awaiting instructions from the pilot on board the Queen to start their pull. Depending on the ship captain's knowledge of the immediate waterways and channels and his certification, a pilot will normally be summoned to take the ship out. With more than 40 years' experience in the industry, Hugh McCormack, skipper of the Switzer Surrey, takes careful control of the bow rope alignment, as it is crucial at this stage to be precise on the positioning and the rate of knots. As part of her 9-day cruise celebrations, she will visit her birthplace on the Tyne, Edinburgh, Greenock and Liverpool. With the bow ropes now detached, we accelerate away, leaving us with a fine study of her graceful lines as she departs Southampton water. Continuing the great Cunard tradition of beautiful ships, we take a close look at the world's largest ocean liner, the Queen Mary II, as she prepares for a transatlantic crossing to New York. Launched in March 2003 and weighing in at a staggering 148,528 gross tons, she is undoubtedly the world's most luxurious liner. Her huge engines and streamlined bulbous bow allow for speeds of up to 29 knots, and comfort for her 2,620 passengers during the 6-day crossing to New York. Looking carefully at her design features, one can see the similarities to past Queens and indeed other liners, in particular the Normandy and the France. The forward, curved and sloping bridge screen appears very similar in design to that of the older Queen Mary, which we will see later. With the assistance of powerful bow thrusters and stern manoeuvring pods, turning is made easy. The Queen Mary II's dominating superstructure is seen to good effect here as she turns at the lower swinging round. While this Queen begins her journey, let us briefly reflect on her predecessor, the Queen Mary, which today resides in Long Beach, California, where she has been since her arrival in 1967, having been open to the public in 1971 as a hotel, museum and convention centre. As you can see, she still retains the beautiful interior of a ship from the golden age of cruising. Her maiden voyage took place in May of 1936, and she was then the largest liner in the world. Like the Queen Elizabeth II, she also saw military action during the Second World War, again being used as a troop carrier. She departed Southampton for the last time in resplendent fashion in October of 1967. Staying with the golden age of travel, let us look at the Pullman era of trains. Passengers would board these beautiful boat trains, once hauled by steam locomotives, from railway stations such as Waterloo, situated in the capital city, London. Liner passengers would feel as if they were treated like royalty if they were sailing on a Cunard ship such as Queen Mary. Today, leading steward Andrew Hassan on the right will show what expectant passengers of the era, and indeed today, could look forward to on their journey to the docks. When you board these trains, it's as though you are transported back to an era of opulence and pure nostalgia, with everything perfect, right down to the last detail. And of course, this high standard continues today, when boarding a Cunard ship such as the Queen Mary II. Arriving on a beautiful July morning, Queen Mary II appears looking resplendent in the summer sunshine. She has just returned from a transatlantic crossing from New York, but an 11-hour turnaround will soon see her making her way to Hamburg, Germany, before continuing her 12-day cruise around the wonderful coastline of Norway, taking in its quaint coastal towns. As you would expect at this point in the berthing procedure of a vessel, stevedores show a typical example of ABP's commitment to team effort, and scenes such as these are not uncommon amongst Southampton's port practices. Before she sets sail, let's take a very brief look on board this magnificent vessel. The responsibilities of maintaining watch over vessel movements within Southampton water and parts of the Solent fall under the watchful eye of Southampton's VTS. The station is manned continuously by 4 watchkeeping personnel. The functions carried out include traffic management, radar surveillance, and recording arrivals, departures and vessel movements. 5 radars are used to cover the port of Southampton together with its eastern and western approaches. To substantially increase safety at sea, VTS have AIS, or Automatic Identification System, which is designed as a navigation aid to provide mariners with up-to-date information on vessel traffic movements. CCTV also plays a big part in monitoring areas such as Calshot Radar Tower, Berth 37, Town Quay and the Bury Swing Ground. All pictures are recorded. With over 100,000 shipping movements annually, Southampton VTS certainly have their work cut out for them as they provide a safe and professional service to mariners. Whilst present, we observed the departure of Ocean Majesty. Built in 1966 and weighing 10,417 gross tons, she can carry 613 passengers. We see her making her way down Southampton water before heading for the Adriatic. If you are visiting Southampton's many museums, why not come aboard the SS Shield Hall and experience the nostalgia of stepping back in time on this beautiful heritage steamship? Wonder at the equipment that was once used by those old sea mariners 100 years ago. You will also discover many items of machinery as found on the Titanic. The Shield Hall was built in 1955 and was used for carrying treated effluent. Remarkably, with the help of volunteers, she can still be seen steaming these very waters. You can join an excursion around the Solent, offering unrivaled views of the largest passenger cruise ships and liners. Or there are trips around the beautiful Isle of Wight, the Needles and Old Harry Rocks. Unlike today's modern computerized ships with their uniform finishes, it used to be routine to see wheelhouses equipped with fixtures and fittings beautifully crafted from the finest wood, brass and copper. We've heard a lot about the importing of goods, but Southampton has a reputation for being the grain capital of the world, with an astonishing 60,000 tonnes of milling wheat exported to bakeries in faraway destinations such as Madrid and Barcelona in Spain. Up to 250 lorries a day arrive from Hampshire's cereal farmers to unload their wheat. The grain is sampled and inspected before being unloaded into giant silos for storage ready to be loaded into ships for export. The second largest container terminal in the United Kingdom sees a considerable number of vehicles booking in to load or unload their containers. Over 90% of the nation's trade is carried by sea, so activity in this particular area of the port is ongoing, 24 hours a day. With an annual throughput equivalent to 1.9 million 20-foot containers, it's no wonder that the container terminal remains one of the market leaders in Europe. The terminal sees 17 deep-sea calls per week, also 7 scheduled short-sea customers. Deliveries of freight containers are also received by rail, with around 25 trains each day from companies such as Freightliner and EWS arriving at the port. The terminal has 11 ship-to-shore cranes, 100 container straddle carriers, 5 sprinters and 4 reach stackers, whilst the acquisition of a further 2 new gantry cranes is planned. As you would expect in this environment, safety and security are of the utmost importance. Bringing these enormous container ships safely into the port is the responsibility of Svitzer. Svitzer's local office ensure an effective and excellent harbour towage service, and with more than 170 years of experience, they are at the forefront of marine activities. You join us now aboard the Svitzer Sussex, with skipper Hugh McCormack at the helm. And in the coming scenes we shall accompany other skippers on tugs working alongside the various car carrier companies that visit the port weekly with shipments of foreign vehicles. As we make our way to berth 34 on our port side, we see the magnificent Queen Elizabeth II again preparing for her next port of call. These car-carrying ships are often referred to as ro-ro vessels, meaning roll on, roll off. Southampton is the #1 car handling port in the UK, and over the years has seen huge increases in the importation of vehicles for the British market. Our vessel to work is UECC's Asian Breeze, a 12,562-ton ro-ro vessel capable of carrying some 3,070 vehicles. She was built in 1983. Earlier today she had completed her unloading of vehicles and is now heading for a new port of call. Acting as steerage and brake, the Sussex gently follows the Asian Breeze from her berth in the River Itchen into the River Test. You can see that the tow rope, or to give it its professional name, the hawser, is quite tight before the Sussex is given the order to release her weight. Heading to Ocean Dock, we are greeted with the wonderful sight of the last seagoing paddle steamer in the world, the Waverley. It's not unusual to see the port with an array of car carriers. Indeed, it can get quite busy for the tug crews, as witnessed on one such day when we were again able to film this unfolding and intensive action. As the Sarah overtakes us for her next job with another car carrier, we too take chase for our position on Grimaldi Line's Grand Spanier. This car carrier was built in 2002 and weighs 37,712 gross tonnes. We shall be directing our course for berth 105, situated in the Western Docks. As we pass Dock Head and Fred Olsen's cruise ship Boudica, skipper Barry Hudson, with more than 30 years in the industry, discusses berthing tactics with first mate Darren Matthews of 10 years service. Before heading for Ocean Dock and home, we again see Asian Breeze making her way up Southampton water on a beautiful July evening with tugs in assistance. She will soon be readying herself for the berthing procedure and the discharging of her cargo. Keeping Southampton's waterways clear and deep is the responsibility of UKD's port dredgers. Ships such as the Bluefin carry out day-to-day operations within the port to help ensure the continuous and trouble-free handling of some of the world's largest passenger and freight vessels. The Bluefin is a purpose-built trailing suction hopper dredger and can often be seen around the port. Here it's seen at work in Ocean Dock. Ocean Dock is the haven for Svitzer's tugboats, and here we see what appears to be a well-choreographed procession of these fine vessels as they make their way to tie up. Before taking up positions for our final car carrier jobs, we test our winching gear and winch brake by performing a bollard pull test. It's later confirmed that the brake and winch equipment is in fine working order, and we continue to our next job. First mate John Crumpler, with 40 years service, steers the Sussex to Dock Head, where we will receive a brand new ship, the Garnet Leader. Launched in 2008, this ship is capable of carrying approximately 6,600 cars and weighs around 21,000 tonnes. We shall be acting as brake and steering for this vessel, and skipper Brian Cotter, of more than 40 years service, will be at the helm to execute the berthing procedure. Chief Engineer Bill Gibb is seen attaching the ship's rope to the tug's main tow rope through an eyelet on the tow winching drum. A job well done from the crews of the Sussex and Lyndhurst, and it's back to Ocean Dock. The tug Sir Beavis and its skipper Chris Cornick are ready to shove off from Ocean Dock for our encounter with a big ship. Today, First Mate Steve Christie is at the helm and heading for the Stuttgart Express. At 53,815 gross tons, she is a big one, launched in 1993 and capable of carrying some 4,639 TEUs. That's transport equivalent units, or 20-foot containers if you prefer. It's incredible to think that we could get any closer, but her size is now becoming very apparent. It's not until you get real close and personal to these big ships that you realise just how massive they are. Engineer Dave Norris prepares to take the Stuttgart's rope for attaching to our tow cable. Note that a heavy hawser is being used for towing. The Beavis now starts winding out the heavy cable. Now at the upper swinging ground, the pressure is on to turn the ship so that she is stern first into the container terminal. The Beavis and Lyndhurst will work as a team, taking instructions from the pilot on board the Stuttgart, and once we are near the allocated berth, the Beavis will actually push the ship gently towards the berth. Standing here at Ocean Dock, one can imagine the mariners and passengers of old as they would have boarded their ships for exotic destinations around the world. Ships of the Cunard line, like the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth, could be seen regularly at this dock, where dreams became reality, and these transatlantic crossings to New York drew big crowds of relatives and onlookers who would cheer in joy as the ships set sail. It's a place where kings and queens would gather to celebrate our maritime achievements, for Great Britain has a truly remarkable maritime history. That history is preserved here at the Maritime Museum, where a fine and outstanding collection of British maritime artefacts can be viewed. See how the port has developed over the years, from the very beginnings of Southampton's port history to our modern-day cruising and freight vessels. All this and much more can be seen. Back at Ocean Dock, and before going back on another job, let's take a closer look at the interior of a modern tug. Again with skipper Hugh McCormack, we make our way upstream towards the container terminal, where the MOL Precision awaits our service. built in 2002, MOL Precision, is capable of carrying some 6,350 TEUs at around 25 knots and weighs a staggering 71,902 gross tons. She looks very impressive, leaving the terminal in the warm summer sunshine. Most ship-assisting tugs today use the Voith system, a special type of propulsion that combines thrust and steering in a single unit. With a conventional propeller, the blades rotate about a horizontal axis, but with Voith propulsion, a rotor on the bottom of the vessel is fitted with a number of parallel blades, all rotating about a vertical axis. To generate thrust, each of these blades performs an oscillating motion in addition to its normal rotary motion. The extent of this oscillation determines the amount of thrust, while the angle of the blade determines the vessel's direction, thus rendering a rudder unnecessary. And as a consequence of the versatility of this novel means of propulsion, the tug is able to spin around in its own length, move sideways, and travel under complete control both backwards and forwards. Let's rejoin the Sussex now, as she is called for another job. The wonderful weather conditions allowed us to capture some truly breathtaking scenes, and these are no exception, as Maersk Nottingham makes her way up Southampton water to the terminal. First mate John Crumpler is seen using the Voith wheel to control the direction of his vessel. In these views it's clear to see the effect of a bulbous bow. Lying just below the waterline, it modifies the water flow around the hull, reducing drag and increasing speed, range, fuel efficiency and stability. With skipper Brian Cotter and first mate John Crumpler at the controls, the Nottingham is now in full tow. Summoning her entire 3,826 horsepower, the Sussex slowly manoeuvres the Nottingham for a stern-first approach to the terminal. As before, all speed and direction instructions to the tug crews will be given by the pilot on board the Nottingham. Here we see the Chicluma reefer, a vessel typically employed in the transportation of perishables, such as fruit and meats from around the world. Note the derricks on board, which are capable of lifting palletised goods from ship to shore or vice versa. In the forthcoming scenes, experience more tugboats in action and enjoy the serenity of slow motion.
Posture, so fast.
Sarah, all fast, thank you. Yeah, Madeline, can you just put halfway some, please?
Madeline, halfway.
Yeah, just kind of stern on the edge of it.
Into Madeline.
Madeline, if you move out on the port quarter now, please, and start taking your own round, please.
Into the Madeline.
And Sarah on the bow, start taking your own round, please.
What's your so?
With a stern on the edge.
What's the Madeline?
port changes dramatically when the shadows of ships stretch out from the darkness, and the echoing of cranes and other machines working through the night makes it a more exciting and dramatic place. Southampton's tugboat crews are often assigned to assist tanker ships out of Hamble. Today the British Falcon will be assisted by 3 tugs. The Falcon was built in 2006 and weighs in at 64,500 gross tons. Opposite BP Oil's jetty is the huge Esso marine oil refinery at Forley. There will often be many tankers here unloading their precious cargo of oil. We continue our pull downstream, where another tug will escort the ship out into the open sea. The escort tug for this will most likely be the Bentley, she being the largest in Southampton's tug fleet, with a bollard pull of 60 tons. Let's take a look at some of the many and varied scenes at the port. history of merchant shipping, there has never been a moment to fire and excite the imagination of onlookers so much as the sight of a brand new ship. On a beautiful December morning in 2007, the people of Southampton eagerly await the arrival of Cunard's newest ship, the Queen Victoria. She is the second largest Cunard ship ever built, after the RMS Queen Mary II, and follows the traditional style of elegance and sophistication. Today the tugboat Switzer Sussex displays the traditional water cannon greeting, and has the honour of towing the ship to berth 101 in the Western Docks. Skipper Barry Hudson and First Mate Darren Matthews will be in control of executing the tow today. It may be just another job, but with a brand new Queen behind you, it must surely be as memorable for them as to the crowds that line her route upriver. Hundreds of onlookers lining the port, and a flotilla of small craft and media helicopters, it was a warm and welcoming reception into Southampton. Even P&O's cruise ship Aurora saluted her arrival with a blast from the ship's whistle. Queen Victoria deploys her bow thrusters and stern manoeuvring pods to assist her berthing, the pilot gives the Sussex instructions to release some weight, while stevedores prepare to receive her bow lines for tying up. Before going on board, let's take a quick look at her from the dockside. Need we say more? The pure elegance and attention to detail is typical of Cunard's ships. Not a fast ship by Cunard standards, but she certainly outclasses most ships for interior design. It's the 10th of December, the day before her maiden voyage, and on a bitter but beautiful evening the celebrations have already begun in Mayflower Park, with various events for young and old alike. Although the naming ceremony did not go quite according to plan, this did not dampen appreciation of a great Cunard ship. True Grace, her 90,000 tons, slip the berth as she begins her 10-day maiden voyage around Northern Europe. This of course would be done in the dazzling and spectacular Cunard style. On a very cold and snow-swept morning in April 2008, we head out of Ocean Dock to receive yet another brand new ship. This time it's from P&O Cruises, and it's a beauty. This is the 116,000 gross ton Ventura, and she is the largest cruise ship yet built exclusively for the British market. She will be based here in Southampton and will commence her maiden voyage after the official naming by Dame Helen Mirren. Once again, a small flotilla of hardy mariners and onlookers brace themselves against the cold winds to greet and cheer this wonderful and exciting new ship into port. As we pass Dock Head, sister ship Aurora acknowledges Ventura's arrival to Southampton. P&O ships of today continue a long seafaring tradition dating back to 1837. As first mate John Crumpler manoeuvres the tug, we get a splendid profile of Ventura, and we're also blessed with a little sunshine just to end the day. Thousands of people are beginning to gather around the docks from all over the United Kingdom to witness a unique and very special occasion in the port's history, the meeting of the Cunardas. This will take place on the 22nd of April 2008, but for now we are about to turn the Queen Elizabeth II, so she'll be facing south for this special event. Conscientious first mate, Darren Matthews takes charge of manoeuvring this 70,327 gross ton liner. Again, he will be listening very carefully for instructions from the ship's pilot. As we head for Ocean Dock and a well-deserved rest before tomorrow's activities, it's important to remember that the Queen Elizabeth II is every inch a great and beautiful symbol of Britain's maritime might, and we should never lose sight of the times when the great British people had fire in their bellies and the imagination and ambition to succeed where others had failed.
going round to the Queen Mary 2. We've got the film crew, and then we'll be going up the upper swing ground.
That's speak, yes, Roger.
Queen Mary 2, shortly breaking away from 38.9 and proceeding to the upper swing ground.
Queen Mary 2, sound speak, yes, Roger, thank you.
The beginning of the last great meeting of Cunard's Queens at Southampton was now moments away. At approximately 5:30, Queen Mary 2 slipped her moorings and was ready to make maritime history. Passengers on board were eager and excited at being able to experience this history in the making. First up was Queen Victoria, and both exchanged the traditional greeting of blasts on the ship's whistles.
Queen Victoria, QE2.
This is Queen Victoria, go ahead.
This is Captain Wright there.
Stand by.
David, how are you? Another royal rendezvous. Very nice, my first one. It's nice to see you there, though.
Nearing the upper swinging ground, Queen Mary 2 begins to manoeuvre her 148,528 gross tons to starboard, using her powerful bow thrusters and steerable propulsion pods. She is very soon heading south for her second salute to the Queens.
Southampton VTS, Queen Mary 2, swing complete to the upper swing ground, proceeding out.
Queen Mary VTS, Roger, thank you, sir.
With such beautiful ocean liners and cruise ships, Southampton, once a port for kings and queens, is truly a gateway to the world.